Hey guys, welcome to Dear Young One with Olakoni. And on today's episode, we will be talking about your career development. So you have chosen a career that is suited to your personality. You have chosen a career suited to your educational background or by whatever other means. And you have decided this is the career you want to develop in. How do you develop in that career? What steps should you take to rise to the top in that career? I want to provide you a couple of tips and guides that will help you along the way as you develop your career. So stay tuned. Okay, so I want to start today by giving you a couple of things that will help you in developing your career. And the very first thing is really about having a plan for your career. Because we do say that a man who has no plan or fails to plan essentially plans to fail. So you need to start with a career development plan. What exactly do you want to achieve in your career? And in what timeline do you want to achieve that? Do you want to achieve it in 5 years? Do you want to achieve it in 10 years? Do you want to achieve it in 15 or 20 years? The thing is that you're a young professional, you've really just started, and there's still a lot of time ahead of you. So you need to be patient. And when setting your goals, you need to be smart. So what are we saying? You need to be specific about what you want to be what you want to achieve, what you want to be. You need to make sure that those particular goals you're setting are measurable. In other words, you will know when you have actually achieved them. Okay? Then they also have to be actually achievable. Take, for instance, you shouldn't set a goal and say you want to be the CEO of your bank in the next 5 years. Ruling out any eventuality where all your colleagues are disqualified and you are the only person left available, that really can happen as a young professional in 5 years. So you need to make sure your goals are actually achievable. And then number four is relevance. You need to ensure that your goals are actually relevant to your career. So if you're setting a goal, for instance, that you want to be a director in your company by in 10 years, is that really what is going to push your career to the limits? Is that really relevant to your career? Or you're setting a goal that, oh, I want to be able to write codes in three languages: JavaScript, Python, and maybe Visual C++ or whatever. The question is, maybe to you as a doctor, is that relevant to your career? So you need to pick goals that are actually relevant to your career. And then the last one, which is also very critical, is they must actually be time bound. So when your goals are set, they remain just goals on paper or dreams if you don't have a timeline within which you want to achieve them. They must be time bound. So again, when setting your plan, remember the acronym SMART. They need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, they need to be relevant, and they also need to be time bound. So you need to come up with a plan. What do you want to achieve within a certain period of time? Do you want to achieve it in 5 years? Do you want to achieve it in 10 years? You need to decide on that. And then when you sorted out the plan, then we come to the next part, which is the part where I want to give you 3 E's that will be very critical to developing in your career. The 3 E's are education, exposure, and experience. And if I could order them properly, they would be education, experience, and exposure. Education has to do with getting all the information you require to actually grow in your career. Now, if you have chosen a career that is suited to your educational background, it helps you already because you already have a lot of the background information you need to have to actually excel in that career. But it doesn't stop there. There's a lot of education you can still get that can make you better at what you do. You can subscribe to professional associations and write their exams and get more qualifications, but more importantly, get more education that will make you better at what you do. Your career probably has a global industry association that has exams that can actually educate you a lot more. Subscribe to them, write those exams, become better at them. Education also has to be is really quite important for someone who doesn't have a background in a particular career. Then you need to go and get a diploma or a 6 months course or a 3 months course. Get something that gives you the background information on that particular course, on that career line, so that you can actually excel at it. Because look, you need information to excel in any field. One of my mentors, Brian Tracy, always says that to rise to the top of any field, you need to be using the best information in that field. So education is very critical to the development of your career. The next thing that is also very critical to the development of your career is experience. You need to get experience as well. And that is why I often tell a lot of young professionals, when you have opportunities to actually acquire experience, look, what do you do with your holidays as a student? What do you do with your free time while you are not working? You can volunteer. You can actually volunteer at the kind of organization where you would love to have a job. And even if they don't want to pay you, you can offer them your service for free and find some other way to sort out your compensation, but gain experience. The experience you gain on those jobs will go a long way in helping you actually build the real career you want to achieve. Let me give you an instance. At a certain point in my career, I took on some private jobs where I wanted to write some reports for the various industries or chambers of commerce that represented Nigeria and some other foreign country in trade. So there were reports that I needed to write for the Nigeria, France Chambers of Commerce, Nigeria, Germany Chamber of Commerce, Nigeria, Brazil Chamber of Commerce. And those reports were really to look at the level of trade between the two countries, who are the key participants in that industry, what were the key products that were being sold, what are the challenges that companies are experiencing in both directions of trade. And those reports were going to be very informative so that anybody that was looking to invest in any of those countries or either directions from France to Nigeria, from Nigeria to France, or to any of the other countries, those reports were going to be very useful. So I got a young copper, youth copper, to work with me on those projects. A fresh graduate, fresh out of school, gave her a laptop, gave her the mandate. She did a lot of the legwork. We wrote a couple of reports and for those chambers of commerce. But for her, of course, it was also a learning curve because she wasn't working yet and she needed something that was keeping her. And I was only paying her just a bit of a stipend to keep her going. She worked with me for about 3-4 months on that. And then she told me she had secured a job somewhere based on just the experience that she had gotten from that, because she was able to show them that she had worked with someone, she was writing reports, she was good at data gathering. She got a job as an analyst with an insurance firm. So getting experience is very key. It's going to be very vital because it's going to be the negotiation currency you have when you're negotiating for pay or you're negotiating for jobs at a later date in your career. The experience you actually have. So rather than be a jumper in the early stage of your career, rather than be someone who just moves around because you're chasing money, try and get experience. It's going to be very vital for you. Another thing that's very vital for you is going to be exposure. Exposure really has to do more with the international angle to your job. Look, we live in a global village. You can't work in isolation anymore. There are international standards, there are international best practices that you can employ on your job that would ensure that you actually excel better at your job. So find this out. What are the global dimensions to your job? What are the global best practices you can adopt? How is it being done in other countries around the world where people do exactly what you do? One of the things that changed my life as a research analyst in the early parts of my career was traveling outside the country and meeting other research analysts talk about the same industry I was writing about, but in a different way. And that showed me that there was so much more I should be looking into as a research analyst that I wasn't doing. More importantly, I read a lot of reports written by other firms about the same industry, and I started to see the angles and the perspectives that they were willing to employ or to look at when looking at or criticizing or analyzing an issue. And that could be very vital to you, ensuring that you get those industry perspectives, those global perspectives on your industry. Exposure will go a long way in not just expanding your worldview, ensuring that you are more creative in your thinking to analyzing issues on your job, but it will also give you an edge over your peers who are not looking at global best practices. So those three E's are very important: education, experience, and exposure. And now, when you've taken all that into consideration, you have your plan, and you've taken into consideration how you're going to embrace or how you're going to adopt the right education and gain experience and also international exposure. The next thing is your attitude to work. Your attitude to work is something that nobody can teach you. You have to develop it yourself. A young professional who doesn't adopt the right attitude to work will struggle a lot. The right attitude is to be very, very professional at what you do. A professional attitude to work means someone who takes his work as top priority and ensures that whatever task is given to them, they explore all opportunities or all avenues to ensure that that task is done properly and according to the requirements of the person who assigned them the task. It's very important you find out and you know that this is what is done, what I need to do, and this is how I need to do it so that you do it very well. Maintain a professional attitude to work, ensuring that you maintain courteous relationships with your colleagues and you have a jovial disposition, but at the same time, you're actually someone who takes his work seriously. And so when you are talking about anything, they know that you know what you're talking about. A young professional should be confident because they have taken the time to actually discover and analyze and actually do their background work before they come out to talk about anything. And so when they talk with that confidence. When you're in a meeting, don't be the one that everybody is saying, please, can you increase your voice? We can't hear you. Speak with confidence. Speak with confidence. And that's why you must do your background work. Ensure that you have done your work well. And then when you speak with confidence. Let people know that you know what you're talking about and you're talking about it with that confidence. So speak with confidence, be professional at your work, be jovial with your colleagues, ensure that you make the work top priority when you are actually at work. There's nothing like, oh, I close at 4 o'clock and by 3:30 I've shut down. That is not the attitude for a young professional. Maintain good behavior and attitude at all times. This is one thing where I always tell a lot of young people that, look, you have a reputation to build. So you cannot afford to jeopardize that relationship at this early stage of your career. No matter what every other person is doing, no matter when they are letting loose and they are talking anyhow, you cannot afford that because you are a young professional developing your career. You don't want something like that to stick on your career. So what do? Ensure by all means that you maintain a good attitude and you focus on the job and you do what needs to be done the right way.